Welcome into Checkpoint AFK on B-Pod Studios, the place to be for podcast discovery. This is Checkpoint XP's lifestyle show from cosplay to consoles. We cover everything you care about when you're away from your keyboard. Joining me,
nerds?
My name's Nate Bender. Joining me today, I've got a full cast. We've got Weird Beard, we've got Chad Callahan, Robbie Landis, and of course, Norris Howard.
As always.
Chad, get some glasses, you dang two-eye.
What? Leave me alone. I don't want to be bullied for my non-need of glasses at all times.
You darn two-eye. That's a new insult that I haven't heard.
That's like a 2120 like insult. Like in the future when we all have like.
When we just come out of the womb with bad eyes.
No, we come out of the womb with extra eyes.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
because
it sounds like
the radiation.
Sounds like the Simpsons fish. Like
yeah,
literally.
exactly. It's
right.
like, oh, you
fish.
two-eye. What are you, a Neanderthal?
I hope in the future that we regain transatlantic accents. That's what I hope. I just want to, come on, you darn two-eye. Like, I just think that would be amazing.
When we get to the days of cyberpunk, you won't have to worry about, can I pull that accent off or not? You just download the accent. So
That is true.
Very
Oh,
well.
okay.
That could be a
Your
new
voice
and emerging
box.
trend.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was an option, that we could download accents.
2020,
Not yet.
21.
But in 2120,
Okay.
for sure.
Well, welcome into Checkpoint AFK. Appreciate you guys being here. Today, we're going to be talking about video game movies, a subject that we have talked about multiple times here on the show.
Probably the only topic more than loot boxes.
True. However, there has been a recent development, and that, of course, is the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, released to the highest grossing box office, even above Detective Pikachu, which blew me away because I thought Detective Pikachu was a way better film.
Was it? I agree.
Blown away box office records for video game adaptations. So we're going to talk about that among other video game adaptations for TVs and movies. Yes, that's absolutely correct. So that's going to be what we're talking about here today on Checkpoint AFK. But first,
Reviews.
we always like to start this show off with Apple Podcast reviews.
I saw somebody tweet us that they left one, so I know there has to be at least one in there.
There is at least one, and it's a good
Yay.
long one. So
I thought he was going to say the news, and I was having like a Top Gear flashback. He's like, but first, the news. And I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. I miss Top Gear so much.
I know, the good original
Yeah.
Top Gear with all of the.
Can we get the first curse word out of the way? Jeremy Clarkson, that's his name?
Yeah.
Asshole.
There you go. Cool. So yes, we have tons of reviews actually across all of the different shows. There's a second review for Checkpoint XP on campus.
Very nice.
I love seeing that. I think there might even there's not. Yes, we do have a new review for Checkpoint AFK left to us from Deadpool X007. So thank you,
That's an interesting crossover.
I'd watch it. I'm sold.
You know what?
Which
Not the
James
worst
Bond,
crossover I've ever
Which
heard.
James Bond crosses over with
All right,
Deadpool?
First of all, it's not a movie. It's a comic. Okay.
I like that.
And why choose just one? It's Deadpool.
I mean,
Or
facts,
Deadpool,
but if you had to
007?
pick one.
I would. My mind, Pierce Brosnan.
I pick Roger Moore.
No, I still think Sean Connery Deadpool
Actually, no.
would be
No.
a wonderful
Timothy Dalton.
Yeah, Timothy. That's where I was
Timothy
going.
Dalton, because he'll go hammy enough.
Yeah.
So
I
there
want
you
Sean-
go.
probably
I want
fair.
Sean Connery now, not like Sean Connery.
Sean Connery is like dust.
Yeah,
he's like
Exactly.
skin.
That's why I think we have such a
he's like
great
skin
buddy
and
cop duo, buddy
skin-
spy duo.
He's skin, dust, and beard. Like that's it. Like
Although if you put him in the role of 007 today, that would be
More funny.
that would
Sean
be
Connery
funny.
has been old my whole life.
That's true. That's true.
The whole plot of that movie could be just Deadpool trying to make him 007 again, and then like him failing, but like Deadpool like fixing his.
All right,
mistakes.
facts. I like that.
like that idea.
That's not a bad
I'm in.
idea.
Getting
Crossover.
Sean Connery back on the horse again.
Yeah, I like it.
So Deadpool X007 leaves us a 5-star review.
Ooh, shit.
The title of his review being "There's a reason there's so many 5-star reviews." Awesome.
Motherfucking right.
That's a good point.
Awesome. Deadpool X007 says, "I'm not sure what the name is on here. I'm on my brother's account, but it's me, Teddy B 1993. Oh, okay. So we got swerved.
Oh, okay. Swindle.
We got swerved. So Teddy B 1993 writes in and says, this is a show that is not only good, but so knowledgeable as well. I've been listening to them for quite some time, and through all the changes and improvements, it's still so good. Their opinions on topic, just one? Really?
That one topic.
On
We're talking about
topic.
movies. We
On
told you. We talk
topic.
about movies and loot boxes.
Yes, I feel like that should be like a Mad Libs insert. Their opinions on topic really get you thinking outside the box. It's a fresh perspective from a popular opinion, and they don't shove it down your throat. You just open up your mind a little bit more to everything. Listening to them is also like being in class about gaming and esports. I don't know if that's a compliment.
I'll take it as a compliment as an intellectual.
He gave us 5 stars.
I get more knowledgeable on these topics each episode I listen to. They have so much fun facts that I would have never known. It's so great to get your source from people who actually know what they're talking about.
Motherfucking right.
It's so fun listening to their shows. I'll always recommend anything from the Checkpoint crew. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you, Teddy B 1993, masquerading as Deadpool X 007. We appreciate your review here on Checkpoint AFK. Remember, if you want to have your review read here live on the program, because we do this show live at twitch.tv/checkpointxp, send in your Apple Podcast reviews. There's only one way to do it, and that's to go to Apple Podcasts. Look up Checkpoint AFK, and then just leave us a little review there.
So what do you think, like, can we ask people to put a word in there or something, like, so we know that they heard it from this? What word should they use in a review next?
So you're saying like a word per week
Yeah.
to say
Oh,
that
for
they
that
heard
specific
this
one.
Yeah,
specific
that way we know
episode.
that you heard it from this episode. Otherwise, it's like just
Okay,
a
I like that.
generalized whatever.
All right,
I like.
Zucchini.
Hulk
I was
hands.
gonna say Weirdbeard sucks, but all right. Hulk hands.
Hulk hands.
Better than zucchini.
No, the word of
I
the
just
week.
wanted to see
No,
if
there
people
we go.
could spell
The
it.
word of the week or phrase of the week is Hulk hands.
All right.
If
there
you put
go.
it in a review podcast, we know you got it from listening right here.
From
That's
this
right.
episode, you must
129.
include Hulk hands.
Use the phrase Hulk hands in your next review for Checkpoint XP so that we know that you actually
That's
heard it here
right.
on
Use
the
the
show.
phrase Hulk hands for 5% off your next order.
It's pretty cheap when it's already free.
I
so.
wonder
Yeah.
if we could actually get a coupon code for that for the store.
Let us talk about it because I'm sure we could.
I'm sure we
could.
could. This week, coming up on Checkpoint AFK, we're going to be talking all about video game movies. Of course, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie just being released this last week. And I think most of us here have seen it. So we'll, I'm sure, talk about Sonic the Hedgehog as well as the Dragon Quest Your Story, a really interesting movie that found its way to Netflix that, listen, I'm going to just go ahead and recommend it right now. If you haven't seen it yet, actually take this opportunity to go watch it. Because
Before we talk about it.
I
Pause
have
this.
a
Go
feeling that we're going to be spoiling it. So
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately,
Spoiling
I
the
think we're
hell
gonna
out of
have to.
everything.
go take a moment and go check out Dragon Quest Your Story on Netflix. We're going to talk about it next here on Checkpoint AFK.
We're not going to spoil Sonic?
No, I mean,
What is there
Yes.
to spoil?
is there
Spoil it.
Is there anything to spoil on Sonic? I don't think there is. Stick around. Coming up on Checkpoint AFK. Welcome back to Checkpoint AFK on BPod Studios, the place to be for podcast discovery. Also stream live over at twitch.tv/checkpointxp. Checkpoint XP. Make sure you go check out the Twitch page. Give us a follow. We've got tons of great streams that go down every single weekday there. And you can also catch new episodes of Checkpoint XP on campus every Thursday at 10 p.m. Make sure you check it out. CheckpointXP.com. And if you missed those broadcasts, you can find all of that content over at CheckpointXP.com. This week on the national radio show, we were talking about the brand new Sonic movie and how underwhelming that was. And actually, I'd like to actually start at a different place than the Sonic movie. I actually want to start at the Dragon Quest Your Story movie that is currently on Netflix.
Okay, cool. A film I actually took the time to watch.
I appreciate
Part
that.
of it.
Appreciate that. So we actually got sent a the way that this landed on our radar. We actually got sent a press release about it, posted it to the website, and in that it had a trailer, and the trailer was remarkably good. I was like, oh, it's an animated movie. That's cool. It is very loyal to the Akira Toriyama artwork. CG looks phenomenal, especially that villain. The kind of Kafka clown-ish
Which
villain.
I'm pretty sure is Mark Hamill's voice. Did anyone else
Really?
hear that? I'm
No.
gonna double
Really?
check here.
Yeah, double check because I'm not sure.
Please double
It was
check.
Mark Hamill-ish.
Yeah, it was
very Mark
Whoever
Hamill-ish.
it was doing their best Mark Hamill impression.
Yeah.
Watch it be Yuri Lowenthal.
I will say that villain distracted me because the chin balls really were distracting.
The chin
Yeah.
testicles.
The chin testes. I was
Yeah,
like,
it was a little weird.
and it almost looked like there was like little hairs on it. I was just,
Yeah.
I can't.
So this movie was actually adapted from Dragon Quest V.
Yes.
Um,
One of the most beloved installments
Is that
of
right?
Dragon Quest.
I did not know
Sure,
that.
Yes.
Didn't know that.
Yes.
So you got a couple of really interesting things here at play. The designers,
I guess
the
it
director.
wasn't. He's not on here anywhere. But
No,
damn, did it
that's
sound
too
like
bad.
it, man?
The directors of this project had a unique set of challenges set in front of them because they needed to cram what is essentially an 80-hour RPG into
90 minutes.
About 90 minutes.
Something no one's been able to do thus far.
At least not in a satisfying way. And what Dragon Quest was really bad at was its pacing. I thought its
yeah.
pacing moved entirely too quick.
So I have the ability to like certain films I can skip through and get.
I know what's happening.
I know what's happening, and I knew you had said that previously, so I was expecting that.
Right.
So anytime I saw, okay, this is about to be a block of dialogue, I've played enough, I've read enough about Dragon Quest. I know, okay, princess, whatever. I get this part. So I'm trying to skip through those long dialogue parts of character exposition, and I'm like, oh shit, we're in a whole different like locale.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are.
And so I found myself having to go back and I was like, I maybe should just watch this the whole way through when I get a chance. But that is very difficult even to sit through in one sitting when stuff jumps around that fast.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. That'd be the one thing that I would
It was
say
the
that I
hardest
noticed
part that I had to watch.
Yeah,
it.
the
I was
hardest
just
part
like,
about it.
okay.
There
I
was
get
very
it, I
little
get it, but
transition
yeah.
from one place to another, and we're talking about a story that goes through multiple generations of a family
Yes.
too.
Yeah. Which is weird.
It
but-
is weird because you don't get that a lot in RPGs.
I think Saga Frontier 2 is the only other time I remember it.
the idea of a story told over multiple generations is fairly unique, and I really liked that aspect of it. And so you had to move through spanses of time very quickly.
Yeah.
And it can be a little bit discombobulating, but I think that they did a good job at condensing so much content into a short, consumable period of time.
Well, I mean,
what I think I would have liked more, though,
Yeah.
is I think I would have liked this to be a series more that would have, between episodes, maybe jumped from time period or
A la The Witcher.
location.
Yeah.
Not quite as randomly as The Witcher does, because The Witcher, it disorients the audience to make you go, okay, when is this even taking place among the series of
timeline.
episodes that I'm watching? Not even trying to put context around it
Actually,
in the greater series.
I actually disagree. I actually think it for as difficult as that is, I think it works as a film still.
I think making it a series fixes that pacing issue.
But I think if you make it a series, unless you do it as a mini series where you only do 3 or 4 episodes, I think if you try to make it 8 or 9 or whatever, you will lose people, because it's not like, in my opinion, it's not like Dragon Quest is the type of RPG that pulls in people with its like super, deep, robust character building. It's not that kind of series.
You get a basic sort of like sketch of the character,
It's
and then
the
the character's
hero's journey.
set. Yes, it's a hero's journey story.
It's literally the antithesis of like a Final Fantasy, right?
Yes,
Like where Final
it's
Fantasy
all
is
character development.
all character. If you took characters out of it, you couldn't tell. Like 90% of it is just dealing with watching cutscenes and whatnot.
Right.
This is all just, hey, go kill things and save a princess.
Yeah, and so I think if you make that a series, that becomes a lot harder to try to do over 8 episodes.
But to Nate's point, and this isn't even just for this movie as well, I just think video games in general, if you want to be able to stay as true to the story as possible, you would need more than just a movie. But what was great about Dragon Quest Your Story is, when we take the ending into consideration, I think that suddenly the pacing doesn't become an issue for me, because it's not about the story that you thought you were being told.
Right.
See, I think that's a really, really big
I will
point,
say
too.
if I watched a whole series and then that last episode was the ending of the movie, I would have been just much more irritated.
Would
than
you
I
feel
spent
like
the time.
kind of like blue ball?
I would have been, well, mainly, I mean, with the movie, at least I can understand. I'm probably jumping ahead with the ending, but like at least with the story, I could at least be like, okay, fine. Like I spent this hour and a half, and it makes sense, whatever.
Yeah.
But if I spent like week after week, and if it was like Apple TV where they make you wait or whatever, or not Apple TV, Disney Plus,
Yeah.
I would have been irritated. I
Really?
think.
Well,
I think I
mean,
would have.
see, I
don't like waiting to the end and then the ending be
No,
completely
I'm with you, because I
different than
feel
the whole
like
rest of the
if you stretch that out over 8 episodes, you start delving into the "it was all a dream"
Yeah.
tropes.
It was all a dream.
Yeah, that some sitcoms or other TV shows have done, and
Yeah.
how much people hate that shit.
Sure.
And so I think
I
with a
think
film, it just works better.
That plot point people in general hate, I think mostly because of the way that it's presented.
It's
right?
lazy in most contexts.
In most contexts.
This is unique, though.
Exactly.
It's
And
uniquely lazy. Yes.
well, no,
No,
because
it makes more sense here than in real life, where it's like, it was all just a dream because, and we wanted that to be
but
like
okay,
a
so-
big
so
reveal.
before we-
and
before-
hang on. Well, I think also if it was a series and it was a week over week series, not like Netflix, here's all the episodes, go and binge them. If it was a week over week thing, I think little clues that tell you about what the
Maybe.
ending is
Like, for
would have
example,
Like if there was
when
a-
he switched to his love interest was going to be,
Yes.
when he made that realization,
Yes.
most of us looked at that and probably just thought, oh, it's a nice nod to the game.
It's a cool way to stylize that.
Yes.
Right? That's what I thought at the time, but I think if I had had more time to sit and think about it, that I might have been able to kind of
see it coming.
Yes.
Well, I mean, even the beginning when it starts out showing the actual game,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where like
Oh,
they're
yeah, yeah,
doing
yeah.
quests and stuff like that. That actually at the beginning bothered me a little bit. I'm like, I don't want to sit and you have to read all this dialogue. How long is this going to go on
right.
for?
Yes.
But it was actually an amazing way to start it, and it's one of those films, and I think what you're doing right here, Chad, is your opinion is based on what you would have rather it had been.
Yeah.
I had a cousin once that hates to this day the movie WALL-E, because after seeing it, she's like, I didn't think it was going to be a funny movie. She didn't want to go see a comedy, so she hates the movie when that's what it was supposed to be,
Well,
right?
I mean-
once this finishes and you get to the end, all the choices that were made up to that point make a different kind of sense, and I think that's something that's brilliant about it.
And I think, and even kind of circling back around to the pacing issue, knowing the end makes the pacing issue make a little bit more sense too. We'll tell you what the end is. I know
We're
that
getting there.
Yeah, we're talking about this in kind of vague terms, but I do think that Dragon Quest as a movie sets up this story to be subverted in the end and does it really well. Like by the time it happened, I had Like, it caught me so off guard and so by surprise.
And it was presented well too.
It really was. I don't get surprised by movies anymore. I don't get surprised by television series. I usually, because I'm involved with producing them in some way, I can usually read what's going to happen a few beats out.
And this even gave you clues that you still
that I ignored. That was the smartest part of it, is that
You
it
willfully
hid,
ignored them.
It hid clues in plain sight, and as soon as it revealed the end, it made me go back and go, oh, that's what all that was. And to me, that's really smart.
I think I agree with you guys that I think it was presented brilliantly, and I'm not saying that I don't think that it was I'm not saying I think it was bad or anything like that. I actually love the ending. I think the ending of it is absolutely great. I just think even if you stretch that out, you become like what Westworld is, which is a jumble of mess that is supposed to be a meta narrative or a meta conversation.
It's like stretching the end out over the whole
Yes.
thing, and that's
like
just,
Westworld should
yeah.
have been a 1-season miniseries.
Correct.
That should have ended when we found out that Westworld was a theme park and that all those people were
Yeah.
robots.
Yeah.
That should have been the end of it.
I get what you're saying then, because you're right. Having more episodes would have fixed the pacing issue. But again, when you know what the film is, the pacing isn't an issue, so
Correct.
you don't need extra episodes.
No,
the movie is fine.
and I'd be inclined to agree with it. But I see Chad's point as to say, like, if it was a series and that was the end, I would feel cheated too. In a way, I would feel cheated.
You know what it's like? It's okay. None of you watched American Horror Story, probably.
I did every season.
Okay, the apocalypse season.
Okay.
It was exactly like how all these kind of characters at the very beginning didn't matter. First 3 episodes, they're gone. It's like, okay, well, why did I even care about that? And then there's these new, like all these other characters, and then the very end, they do some time warp bullshit in the episode. And then nothing the characters did leading up to that mattered, and it was like a whole different story, and it was just like, why did I take this journey?
Oh,
And that's
you know
the kind
what?
of stuff that I don't like.
No,
and I'm not saying
yeah.
I didn't like this version of it.
I actually now though disagree with you, because the whole point of the movie was that these journeys do matter.
Yes.
So even if it was this 8 episode long thing at the end, then you're like, well, I feel like that means nothing matters. Then you're missing the point.
Yeah. I mean, so let's actually talk about what the ending is. So the game, the story unfolds as you would
As the
imagine
game
that the
does.
game would, right? And at the very end, as you're going up against the big bad, as the main character is going up against the big bad,
Chin balls.
chin balls, the main character's son takes the sword ex machina.
The sword of destiny.
Yeah, the sword of destiny. Yeah, the Deus ex machina, and throws it into this big portal that that the main character has been trying to keep closed, right? And when that happens, it's like
Fuckery ensues.
Everyone
it's
thinks
like-
that's a win. Everyone thinks that's the win, the end.
suddenly you get transported into Reboot, and
Yes.
and right, like
I love Reboot.
and Hexadecimal comes down and basically tells both the audience and the main character, you are in a game right now. This is a game. Everything that you see around
He
you
turns
fake.
off colors. He turns off textures.
Yes.
He basically
Gravity.
dismisses it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And saying, like, you wasted your time. You're a loser. Like, and the implication, and they may have said it outright, is that, this is a virus that has been
He does. He says, I'm a virus
yes,
made
that
by
has
a
been
hacker.
programmed into the that has been hacked into the game for the purpose of ruining people's good time. Because what the reality is, in the real world of this movie, there's a kid who went to a VR station.
Well,
He's in, like,
he's an
he-
adult now.
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
but he's
yeah.
in what is essentially like
A
this
young
giant,
adult. He's
this
a young
giant,
adult.
this giant like orb. It's like a VR type.
It's like a
thing.
VR station,
And
yeah.
they even tell him, like, when you go in, all of your memories will be erased temporarily, so you can live out the game like it's the first time you've ever played it. And so you suddenly realize that the whole movie you've been watching somebody play through a game.
Yes.
The entire time.
And even those little hints, like selecting which princess to date
Yep.
or whatever, it's so clever in the way that it kind of presents that as a aesthetic as well as
We just think it's an Easter egg or a nod to
Yes,
the game.
As
exactly.
well as an aesthetic choice.
Yes, exactly. And so I like when they finally when they finally hit that punch, like I don't know, at least me, I was like, I did not fucking see this coming.
Even when the giant hexadecimal thing is
I'm like-
like smashing down into the world, I'm still like, what? What's
like,
happening?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, like, I don't know. I anytime a movie can surprise me like that, I'm already
And then hit you
I'm
with the
already a
feels
fan.
because he has this long monologue about how games
That's the second part.
you know matter and what they mean to us and the journeys that we take.
Yes, exactly.
You know what? Go play Spelunky. Weird beard.
I just think it's so rote. I think it felt very like a kid's.
I mean, that
like,
part is a bit hammy.
It is,
No,
but that-
it is for
It's a bit
sure.
hammy.
But
It's,
like
it's heavy-handed, but at the
Yeah.
same time, though, it's cutting to the core of why are you watching a movie about a video game in the first place?
because I had to for work.
okay, you know what? No, hold on. Excuse me.
You don't
excuse
count.
me.
You don't count.
Excuse me. We're not going to take the opinion from someone who got so butthurt about the fact that he might have to share his Animal Crossing village with his daughter.
Yes.
Okay?
Honestly, I think that there's a really great message there that everyone who connects to video games can connect to. You know, like anyone who's a fan of video games knows, you know, like you can't really articulate I can't really articulate, especially now because I don't remember the beats of the game very well, why Legend of Dragoon is like one of my all-time favorite games.
Even if you take something
but
that
it
you
will
played,
always be one of my favorite games.
But even if you've taken something recently, if you take any Metal Gear Solid game,
Absolutely.
and try to explain that to someone who's never played it or never played a game before, they're gonna look at you like you're a lunatic.
Well,
that's
I mean, especially
that's-
Metal Gear.
yeah, Metal
but,
Gear.
I mean, the thing is that I appreciated it, even though it was ham-fisted, because it's specifically talking about RPGs, which has traditionally been a hard genre of game to try to express to someone why you like it.
Right.
So you could talk to somebody, oh, I love NBA Jam. Duh, who doesn't? I love Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. Duh, who doesn't? But you say, oh man, Final Fantasy VI is one of the greatest stories I've ever read, whether it be movie, film, TV, novel, it doesn't matter. It's one of the
That's
best.
a divisive opinion.
And people will go, what? Oh my God, a
Better than
video
Moby
game?
Dick?
Oh,
Ugh.
better than The Catcher in the Rye? First of all, that overrated piece of shit book. Anyway,
Is a good
Hot take.
author.
Hot take.
anyway, but it's the fact that they were talking about RPGs and how people specifically connect with the characters in that style of game. And I think that was important to me because I look at a character like, you know, Locke or, you know, Edgar from FF6, and I go, those are some of my favorite characters ever written, period.
Yep.
And I can't explain that to the average motherfucker, not at all.
I don't
so
know.
I appreciated them acknowledging sort of the personal experience and the personal connection that people can have with these games and not necessarily make it this whole collective thing, because
Yes.
every time we talk about video games, it's about the collective and how we connect to it
Yeah.
and we can share this. Now, I don't give a fuck if you like 6 or not. It's my favorite FF, period.
You know what's weird is like how an ending like that where it talks about the collective, like, you know, it's an experience we all share and everything. Do you think that this movie would have been received differently in like the early 2000s, late 90s, when it wasn't like gaming was seen as like a solo endeavor type thing, right? Like it was still single player games. There wasn't
I'm gonna tell you when
online
it would have
stuff.
resonated the best. It would have resonated the best in an era where console gaming was still the dominant thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now that online gaming and PC gaming has sort of kind of shifted that way, and everybody knows gaming now as a social experience as well as a personal experience. I think it would have hit harder, but I don't think they would have had the technology nor the storytelling acumen to be able to pull it off.
I'm going to disagree with you, and here's why. I don't think that the gamer self-identity really hit the mainstream until 2006, 2007, somewhere in that area, right? Like
in the post G4 era.
Gamer as a self-identity or as a way to try to distinguish yourself among other people. You know, I would say that was a very, very small portion of the population until about the mid 2000s when, you know, we started to see YouTube Let's Plays and Twitch and, you know, video game podcasting. You're right. The post kind of G4 world, all of those different things started to balloon and people went, I mean, like, take me, for example. I used to self-identify and stratify myself along my music taste, and that shifted somewhere along to video games in, you know, in that same period of time. So, yeah, no, I don't think you would have been able to pull at the same heartstrings that you would have in 2020 back in like 1999.
No, but this is an important distinction because I do see what he's saying as well. Nowadays, even though more people are identifying as gamers, there's still, I think, a very small subset of us that were affected in the same way that RPGs did. Nowadays, everyone's about Overwatches, Fortnites, right? It's this collective single
Yeah,
sort
no,
of
It's the experience of gaming in and of itself has changed very drastically.
Absolutely.
And so you're not very often having the same experience of I am sitting in a room by myself at my mom's house playing a video
But
game.
being affected by it on like this emotional
But
level.
that self-identity is actually a really important part of the equation.
I agree.
Because
I agree.
once you develop the self-identity, you start trying to find other people like you, and that's when the conversations about video games start. Right?
Now,
No,
I think because of those two things,
Yeah.
I don't know that we can look back and say there was a perfect time because I think the gamer identity becoming widespread is because of the games becoming what they have. And so
Yes.
if there was a perfect time for those two things to line up, it was very, very
It was
slow.
very narrow.
I think now.
I mean, now's as good as time as any, for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think we're hitting critical mass point in terms of, you know, a subculture sort of thing to where
in terms of a subculture, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of a subculture moving into the mainstream, like we're almost there.
Yeah,
like
because I was about to say, like, I don't
like
think
that.
I don't think we're quite like mainstream
Agreed.
yet.
Agreed.
But I think in the next 10, 15 years, there won't be people who go, "Oh,
It's what kind of
It
gamer
won't be
are
people.
you?
Yeah, it won't be people who say,
Yeah.
"I don't really
that's
play
already
video games."
Kind of how it is. I mean,
I mean, it's
think
getting there
gonna
for sure.
Exist, but I don't know. My last thing about the movie, and I'll kind of end it there. I would have liked the movie and the ending a lot more if it wasn't a Dragon Quest story.
Okay.
You know what? That segues into
Interesting.
what I want to say because this is to me what was most impressive about it is I've never played a Dragon Quest game in my entire life, right? But at the end, that speech, as ham-fisted as it may have been, still gave me the feels for how I used to feel about JRPGs
A number of different
games,
RPGs.
of games,
that it's
yeah.
been a while since I've felt that. The last game was
Yes.
probably the Mass Effect games, and as a result, I've been slowly putting like 10 minutes at a time into Dragon Quest 11. Like I'll pick it up
Yeah.
for 10 minutes and then put it back down after having done like 2
It's
lines
actually a
of
really
dialogue.
good game for that, though.
I am now another like 4 hours into it since this movie, and
Nice.
and I am starting to actually like quite a bit about it.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing for me too, is that like I've never had a really big attachment to the Dragon Quest series. So having it be attached to a Dragon Quest movie was a little bit weird for me because I didn't feel that same attachment.
Right.
If you had put this with a Final Fantasy movie, I would have been
But-
I would have been bawling by the end
But
of it.
precisely of what me and Rick were talking about, I don't think you can do it with Final Fantasy because Final Fantasy has too many strong characters.
No, I agree with that.
The point of why having it as Dragon Quest is because you pretty much can just rip out your own personality, throw
Whatever
it
you
into
want.
that
Onto the main
hero,
character, yes.
onto the main character, and
guess.
it's you.
It would've-
And
Yeah.
that's the whole point of the story that they were trying to tell, plus the ending.
The last thing I would like to point out here that's like sort of like the weird, you probably didn't notice this yourself, but because that kid was in there, that guy was in there living out his whole life, and you had the attendant probably outside watching the game unfold, he had a kid in there. which means at some point that attendant was watching him
Do it?
do the dirty in the virtual world.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, they skip over that crap.
I
you
mean,
know.
they
Gross.
for us they did. And
Thank
thank
They
God.
hit
I don't know.
it with a fade to black, and then
How
bam,
long is
kid.
this guy? How long is the kid in there? Like how?
I mean, it was only a few hours, but as you know, when you dream, any dream that you have, no matter how long it seems, is actually only about 4 or 5 minutes long.
Yeah, don't you remember Inception?
Come on, man, time dilation.
Sure, but I don't know how they're gonna translate that to VR in the future. But maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, listen, you'd be surprised how many computations the brain does.
Most
in a
powerful
matter.
computers right up
It's
here.
right up there in the old noggin.
So I think the last thing that I want to mention about Dragon Quest, your
You
story.
motherfuckers have said the last thing we about to
I
say
know.
about this shit three
Okay, but
times.
this is the last thing.
Okay.
last.
Go
is
ahead.
is that like I appreciated the ending speaking to our collective experience as gamers, because where else was that gonna go? Like, where else was that story gonna go? Oh, you save your mom who's being held by the villain, and then yay, you get to
Happily
be
ever
family.
I
after.
mean,
You know, like
she doesn't make it, so I was like,
I'm
okay,
just-
cool.
No,
Yeah,
no, but
but-
he's saying if it didn't end that way, if it ended just how you wanted it to, which is
I
just
wanted
which
her
is,
to die,
which
and
is just
everyone
the
be
end
sad
of the story.
/ happy.
You just wanted an ending to the story. Like nothing would have set it apart at that point. It would have just been another fantasy film.
exactly,
I'm
and
okay
that's
with that.
that's part of
With
that,
pacing
But that's,
problems.
that's part of
Yeah,
what
that-
it
that
that's
would've
part
been
of
made it worse,
but that's
though.
part of what makes it brilliant is you're
Yes.
right
Yes.
is that without that
Denying
ending
expectations.
it's a pretty okay fantasy film with pretty terrible pacing.
Yep.
But you know what didn't have that? The Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Had great pacing.
And I think it was worse for it.
It had good pacing. It had to go fast.
Stop. I'm done.
Boo! Boo! We're going to talk more about video game movies when we come back on Checkpoint AFK. Welcome back to Checkpoint AFK on BPod Studios, the place to be for podcast discovery. Today on Checkpoint AFK, we're talking about video game movies. Started off talking about Dragon Quest Your Story, which, by the way, if you didn't know, you can go watch that now on Netflix. But the other big movie that came out this week, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic.
To the highest box office gross for a video game movie ever.
I just looked up where it's currently at. It's nearly at 140 million, which now puts it a quarter of the way to the highest grossing video game movie of all time.
What is the highest grossing video game movie of all time?
Warcraft, actually.
That's disappointing.
What?
Yeah, it is.
Did you ever, hang on. Now, Robbie, you're actually a World of Warcraft player and a Warcraft fan. Did you ever see it?
I did. Not in theaters. I waited in...
You saw it on a plane.
somewhere else.
He does
Yeah.
somewhere else. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair enough. Plane is as good as anything else. What did you think of that? Like, what were the problems that movie had?
Honestly, special effects.
What?
Special effects looked like old sci-fi.
I'm not
channel.
even gonna I'm not even gonna hold you
No.
up. When I
Yeah.
saw the trailers, I was looking like,
Yeah.
yo, they did not put enough money into this.
Yeah,
Didn't it
and
take too long?
then a few of the actors, like you could tell, they're like, I'm here for a paycheck, right?
Well, that's the worst.
I mean, story wise, it was fine. You
So,
know,
okay.
they tried to take something out of lore and it was technically I think a different timeline because I think they actually used that movie to launch Warlords of Draenor, which turned out to be the worst expansion yet. But yeah.
Worse than Mists of
So
Pandaria.
I have a
Mists of
quick,
Pandaria
I have a
wasn't
quick
too
question.
bad.
I know
Not
we're
the
gonna
pandas.
talk about Sonic in a minute, but do you have a list of the highest grossing video game movies.
So
What would
Warcraft comes in at first,
Okay.
and only 6 million below it, Detective Pikachu,
I am shocked by that.
followed by Rampage, The
Okay,
Rock,
Okay.
Rampage
Yeah.
was good.
Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time.
Jake
That's
Gyllenhaal.
awful.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a bad one.
That was
Resident
really bad.
Evil: The Final Chapter holds the next place, along with Resident Evil
I
Afterlife.
forgot about all 85 of them damn movies.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, Assassin's Creed is actually higher than I would have liked it to be.
Oh,
I really
no.
wanted that
Yeah.
film to be good, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yucks. Yucks.
But
So it's
yeah.
basically like, it's Rampage, Warcraft, Rampage, a bunch of Resident Evils, and
Tomb Raiders are in
Tomb
there.
Raider.
Yep.
Okay, there
At
we
least
go.
Angry Birds isn't on that list.
Correct. I actually, for the while, thought Angry Birds was higher than what.
I think it was the top
apparently is.
Metacritic movie.
That might.
That might have
I
been it.
didn't hate Angry Birds.
Go
You saw
away,
it?
Chad.
I watched it.
I
It was
watched it.
fine. It was
Why?
like it was actually not a
no,
bad
no.
story.
For
Wait,
everything,
hold on. These
Rick has
these
a
are
kid.
these are live action, so that's why Angry
Oh.
Birds isn't on there.
Okay.
Still, Rick has a kid. He has an
Yeah.
excuse to see something like
I have
Angry
zero
Birds.
excuse. We literally just had a Disney podcast last week. You have no excuses.
It doesn't. But you don't have excuse to go
Yeah.
see Angry Birds.
Angry
I didn't
Birds
see it
w-
in theaters. I
Angry
waited at
Birds
home.
would come in at 5th.
Oh, geez.
Wow, that is depressing.
Any change
It was
to number
Real
one?
depressing.
What's that?
Any change to number one? Is it still
No,
Warcraft?
it would be Warcraft X Pikachu, Rampage, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, Angry Birds.
So, okay, let's talk about Sonic the Hedgehog. Because, of course, it did have a great opening week. Sure, you want to start? Kick us off
I
here.
do want to start only
Fine.
because I'm full of enthusiasm for this movie.
Why?
It was
How?
not, because I went in with the expectations of it not being like the Green Mile. I just expected a movie.
I actually want to see the Sonic Green Mile.
Dude, if
I
they-
actually would too.
If they'd have strapped James Marsden into the electric chair at the end and just
Fried him.
for treason, yeah.
It was a good movie, dude. Like I thought that there was a couple of fart jokes that bummed me out. I was bummed out that they essentially, like, one of the guys was just like, hey, do you remember in X-Men where we did that time in a bottle scene? Yeah, we're just gonna do that a whole bunch. Like, they ripped that off. That made me sad, but it was a competent movie. Like, it was verging from my expectations going into being a complete just clusterfuck. Like, one of those movies that you walk out of feeling assaulted by. Do you remember the South Park episode where they talked about the new Indiana Jones and
Yes.
everything? And they're like,
Yeah.
why are you raping him? that's how I was gonna feel about my boy Sonic. But then it wasn't bad. Like, it was probably the vanilla ice cream of movies that I'm going to see
Would
this
you
year.
have felt different if the graphics didn't get changed?
Absolutely. I think if anything, it may have been a galaxy brain fucking marketing move that here's a true conspiracy. I think they did it on purpose where they were like, is this what our movie's really going to look like? They're like, no. We're just doing
to hit
that.
the bare
I'm
minimum
starting
of
to-
what I think is an acceptable video game movie. The first thing you have to do is if you are don't try to make a one-to-one like representation of the video game because they're two completely different
Sure.
mediums,
You can't do
okay?
it.
You
Yeah.
can't do it, right? So long as the main character looks like he should
Sure.
and acts like he should,
You're working.
Baseline.
baseline.
Yeah. No. But
You're average right there.
but
And this
I-
movie did at least that.
I'll say this. I'm more so, you guys know I talk shit about Nate's taste in movies all the time, right? But I'm also one of those people, I don't want to go to the movie theater and spend money and leave the house and have to spend $45 because I can't go to the movies by myself no more. That's not how it works when you're in a long-term relationship. So I got to go spend $45 to leave the house for okay. I'm not doing that for okay.
Yeah.
Even if I was going by myself, it's still $20. I'm not spending $20 for okay.
Okay,
I'll tell
but
you-
that has nothing to do with the movie.
No,
Yeah.
so what I'm saying is everybody I've talked to nobody's been as angry as Nate. Which I mean, it's par,
It's
which
Nate.
is par for the
It's
course.
Nate.
Hulk hands.
Yeah, par for the course. But I've heard very few people go like, wow, it was actually legit amazing, and I was suggested to anyone.
Well, here, okay, let me list the things that I think were above okay. I think Sonic as a character was pretty good. Maybe not like a, forever type, like, you know how Mark Hamill plays the Joker and you're like, yep, that's forever what
That's
You
the
will,
Joker.
you
That's a
will
Joker to
always
me.
be the Joker.
Yeah.
Sonic wasn't that Sonic, but he was damn good as far as like what it could have been.
Uh-huh.
I will also say, while the plot was super clunky, it didn't get convoluted, right? Like it was a very kind of straightforward get from here to go here to do the thing. Fine, I understand that. You know, they didn't spend
We didn't
time-
need Flashpoint with Sonic.
Yeah, like I don't want fucking Sonic lore. Like I don't want to have to go in and like, hey, did you read the companion Wikipedia before you went and saw it? No. Like they understood what the fuck they were getting into. And then I like Jim Carrey, man. Like Jim Carrey was like, he chewed the scenery in a little bit, but I would rather have Jim Carrey playing that character outside of anybody. I don't think anybody would have played a character like Dr. Robotnik as well in that setting.
As much as I love Jack Black, because I could have easily seen them putting him into that role,
Sure.
I don't know that I would have wanted to see that.
I would have hated Jack
Yeah.
Black in that movie. I like Jack Black.
Who is your Sonic? Are you the later games, you know, when they actually started having stories beyond just like him chasing Robotnik, or are you that 90s cartoon Sonic?
Chili Dog Sonic.
Chili Dog
Chili
Sonic.
Dog Sonic. Yeah.
I'm Chili Dog Sonic.
I'm Chili
Yeah.
Dog Sonic.
Sonic Adventure 2, man, is probably my Sonic that I
So
first
that's
started.
halfway.
Yeah.
That's halfway.
So I mean, I think I'm with you, Rick, that I didn't want to go and see Sonic like do loop-de-loops for like an hour and a
dumb.
half.
Yeah, that'd
You
have
know?
been fucking
I get
stupid.
it. I get it. You know, there's some stuff that you're gonna have to change, but in 90 minutes worth of movie, with a wisecracking hedgehog,
Yes.
Listen. I spent probably $80.
that day.
Jesus Christe.
Yes. I had an edible. I had dabs. I had a joint beforehand.
You did everything you could to
I
make
was
this
as
enjoyable.
lubricated for this movie as you possibly could be. I was ready to laugh. I was ready to chuckle. I was ready to guffaw even. I didn't even crack a fucking smile. Not only did I not laugh the entire time, no one in my, I would say, reasonably full theater worth of children laughed either.
No,
Like,
hold on.
to me-
Would you have been able to hear it in the coma you put yourself into?
Yes, I did. But the thing is that like it really is not funny. Like the movie just isn't funny on its face. None of the quips work. None of the character interactions work. The sheriff, none of his motivations made any goddamn sense.
You don't
sheriff.
need,
Jim
you don't
Carrey-
need
Jim- hang on.
motivations to be a good person.
Don't-
man.
yeah.
Jim
Yeah.
Carrey had exactly 3 scenes outside of the trailer. Like, did anyone else notice that? Like 90% of his scenes took place in the fucking the trailer that he
In his
arrives in.
headquarters, yeah.
His
Come on,
headquarters
if you're
is
gonna-
trailer.
if
His
you're gonna-
mobile
if you're-
headquarters, it was like a
if-
giant
If
like
you're
command
hiring
center.
Jim Carrey, utilize him in more than like that was.
I will say this.
that was 3 days worth of shooting.
I will say this though, I am more excited for the inevitable Sonic 2 when we get actual Dr. Robotnik, right? Because at the end is when he gets like, you know, the crazy mustache, he's bald, he's been stranded on the mushroom planet for who knows how long.
Yeah.
So then he'll really be crazy.
See,
I can't wait to see what that
I mean,
looks like.
that I would have preferred if that transformation happened halfway through the movie.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I don't know. Like I was
here.
I was happy with Sonic. I was like, it was a positive experience in that these kids movies, especially with how movies are done by committee nowadays, right? Like it's not just I write a script, I take it, somebody gives me money, I make it, yada yada. It's studios literally backpacking you
Sure.
the entire way.
Yeah.
This had every opportunity to go very, very far into a dark, dark place of like the trailers that were shown before it were horrible compared.
Or cookie cutter shit.
Yes, like shit
never
that
before.
literally
With
I don't.
Gangster's Paradise.
Yes, or like Trolls, right? Like the new Trolls movies that's coming
Yeah.
out was one of the trailers beforehand. That shit looks fucking terrible. Like objectively, I don't think I could find a bright spot. It will be, they'll have the dance break in the middle. They'll have the message of, we've all got to come together and be friends.
It's actually Shrek 49 in disguise.
Yeah, like,
I get it.
Exactly. Like, that kind of shit is what it could have been.
No, I
so
get
I
it.
guess maybe I just judge it not based on what it is, but what it
Could have
been.
Okay, that's fair. I have a couple of other complaints, though.
Just a couple.
Let me pull out my list real quick.
Yeah. Did they not have any kind of reference point for where the actors should be looking when they're talking to an animated character?
Well, here's why. It's because they changed the design. So when they redid it, they made them shorter.
Okay, let's talk about that character redesign. Okay, we all work with film, kinda. We all work with computers on a regular basis.
Yes.
Do you really think it's that difficult to change out a character model?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
To redo all the rigging for it, to redo like
no, I will
Clearly,
say this.
they didn't redo any of the rigging. They literally just took out the character model and replaced it with a different character model. Didn't go back or reshoot any
didn't reshoot
scenes.
anything.
They didn't reshoot any of the reference points. So you get an actor that's looking here, but the character's down there.
Yeah, or any
It
time.
was way worse than Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit was, I think, the first time that they had ever tried that.
I will agree
Yes.
with Nate on this because there's a few times too when James Marsden's character is like carrying Sonic around or picking him up, and something about it looked just a little bit off.
there's a point that I laughed at when what movie is it with that has he had a Clint Eastwood baby or a movie. He had a fake baby. Do you remember that movie?
Death Stranding?
No. God.
Shut up, Chad.
Chad.
No, there's a movie where so Bradley Cooper has like a fake baby and they're playing with a fake baby like it's real.
Yeah.
There's a
Oh,
scene
God.
in the Sonic movie where
Trying
James
to remember what
Marsden
it is.
walks into his
Is it into
girlfriend's
his
sister.
sister's house and he has it covered up? I'm
Yeah,
like,
and
there's
it's
no
like-
way Sonic is in that.
Yeah, like and it's like
It looks like there's
obviously
a
nothing.
broomstick in
and he's just
there.
like swinging around, and so there's some chintzy parts, but I think that it could be forgiven. Considering that the studio did make the call to go back in and do it. They could have said, fuck you, internet. Like, I don't give a shit. Our guy's going to look and make would you rather have him made eye contact, but have the old model? Or, the eye contact's a little wonky, but you get the new, better looking Sonic.
I mean, but
I don't know.
Here's the question.
I don't
from
think
me,
I
though.
don't think that original model was bad enough to justify.
No,
If that,
yes,
if
it
that
was.
original
Yes,
model
it
was
was.
kept in, kids when they
What?
grow up would talk about this the same way we talk about E.T.
Yes, or the Mario movie.
Shut the fuck up. I will fight you. I will fight you.
No. But I have a serious question because I remember seeing the Detective Pikachu trailer
Love that.
and going. You know what? It looks fun. Looks fine. Not sure if I want to go to theaters to see it.
Yeah.
I'm
That's fair. That's
I'm
totally
a
fair.
very down on kids movies type person. I don't really like kids movies, whatever. But when I saw it on a plane, I was like, yo, I did myself a disservice by not going to see this movie when it was in theaters.
I agree. You know what, Norris? I really agree with that because I did the same thing. I saw it on a plane. And when it came out, I was like, yeah, I love Pokemon,
Yeah.
but like, I'm the same way. I don't want to have to go to the theater.
So, yeah.
I don't want to have to do any of that shit. And yeah, like when I saw it on the plane, I went, oh man,
I really should have saw this in
I
theaters.
fucked up.
Yeah.
They were
it's-
definitely different calibers of movie for one.
Okay, and
Nintendo
that was really-
movie or Nintendo money versus Sega money.
Well, and that was going to be sort of my question because I still haven't seen Sonic and I don't really care that I'm spoiled. But the thing is that I saw Detective Pikachu and I saw a group of people and some filmmakers who actually gave two shits about Pokemon and what the world of Pokemon could be.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so from what I hear from people is that it's a fine kids movie, but that
Yes,
doesn't give me any hope for anybody who actually likes Sonic.
And I'd like to bring up something that you had actually said
Good
on
point.
a radio show. When I'm like, it's a kids movie, what did you expect? And you brought up the fact that there's a bunch of shows like on Cartoon Network that are technically like kids cartoons, but adults can still get stuff out of them,
Yes.
right? And I think when it comes to kids show, they do fall in one of two categories. Because like growing up, the kids shows that I watched were Spider-Man, X-Men, right? But they still had adult themes in them.
Yeah.
But there are also kids shows like Doc McStuffins, which definitely don't have that, but are still good kids shows.
Sure.
And you're right. In this case, Detective Pikachu is one of those Sonic is on the other side.
Yeah.
I think that maybe Sonic was written by someone who is passionate about it, but when it comes to the actual filmmakers, maybe not. Because there were actually a lot of really cool nods in there, right?
There were a couple
The
of
music
things.
nod at the end,
Easter eggs.
or
Yes.
or the fact when they were being chased by that car, and every time they destroy it, another piece would come out. Like
Correct.
that's how the boss fights work. You destroy part of it, but there'd be another fucking robot inside of it.
I liked, you had mentioned that the piano bit near the end. The other thing that I liked was in the bar, he eats chili dogs.
Yep.
So, you get a nice little throwback to the cartoon even. And so those things I appreciated. But at the same time, I don't feel like whoever wrote this had a whole lot of reverence for Sonic. And I don't think you need to either, right? Like, I don't think that this, like Weird Beard had said, I don't think you need Sonic lore. I didn't need Sonic lore.
Whereas with
All I
something
needed-
like Pokemon, there's tons of lore you can
Well,
draw from.
but it's different though, because like you're telling a story that exists inside the Pokemon world.
Yeah.
You took Sonic out of his world and put him into ours. It instantly becomes different.
It's the exact same argument that I always use for like the Super Mario Brothers movie. What would you like? It was being made, right? You can't just go, I wouldn't have made it, because they had the rights and they were going to make a fucking movie, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's Sonic or it's Mario, what does a movie like that in the real world even look like?
But again, that goes to my point, or not my previous point, but that goes to the point of people really need to pick better video games to make movies out of.
Agreed. See,
And-
this is the root of my complaint about Sonic is I would not have chosen Sonic to make a movie out of.
So even to your point, and I know you love the Mario Brothers movie, but Mario's not a good series to try to translate into film. It's hard enough to try to explain to somebody what the fuck Mario is ever about anyway.
Well, they're going to try and do it again.
Yeah, I
I
know.
don't know.
And if you're not on acid, prepare yourself, because you're not going to know what's going
If they
on.
make it's not Mario, but if they make a Luigi's Mansion movie, I'm in. I'm watching that.
But even
Why are you even here?
I'm here to add
No.
commentary.
But even Luigi's Mansion makes more sense because Luigi's Mansion has he has a
different style.
directive.
Yeah.
Like he has a very clear directive and a very clear sort of enemy in that sense, right? But when I look at how many video games exist, and I look at how many video games would have made absolutely fucking amazing movies, dude.
Metal Gear Solid.
No, not even that. Tell me right now that Lost Odyssey would not be one of the greatest films put together if the right people did it, because it would.
My issue with some of these games,
to be an
these
HBO
ideas,
miniseries.
is like
No, make it a film.
you play the game and it's like, okay, I got the story. So it's like, why? It's kind of like when we talked about Dragon Quest. It's like,
Yeah.
I really didn't need it because I thought when I originally came in, I thought it was going to be like just a retelling of 5.
Sure.
Which in some cases it was, but
Well, for 99% of
for
it, it was.
99% of it was. But that's the kind of thing I don't know. I kind of don't mind with Sonic is like, okay, so this is a character. He could be placed kind of anywhere. It doesn't
Sure.
really matter that like the story changes because his stories change all the time.
Yeah.
Where if you took a Final Fantasy, like that's the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I kind of get your point, but then that goes back to my previous point of reverence to a character or reverence to a series or a franchise, where I watched, Detective Pikachu, and that wasn't about Ash Ketchum or Misty or Brock or any of the characters that we really knew or cared about. It was a completely original story,
Right.
and yet it felt like the most Pokemon thing I had ever watched since I watched the Mewtwo movie.
True, but
so
even the games don't have Ash or any like they've referenced Misty, but like it's not like the following
But-
storyline of Ash.
But even then, we're not talking about any of the gym leaders. We didn't talk about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it still felt intrinsically like part of that universe, but at the same time having nothing to do with it.
But the difference is, you're right, is something like the Detective Pikachu movie, Nintendo had hands-on with that. They had rules, they had people watching, they know what their product is and how they wanted it to be portrayed, right?
Sure.
I just looked up, just for fun, the writers for the Sonic movie.
Yeah.
2 of them are the dudes who have done some National Lampoon stuff. And the other guy is the dude who did 22 Jump Street, Freaks of Nature, and the Cloverfield Paradox.
None of those I would say are amazing movies.
No.
Yeah.
I would not say any of those are great.
If you've got National Lampoon's credits, I expect your movies to actually make me laugh.
I mean, that's
early
facts.
or late National Lampoon stuff. Because
Um,
early stuff, yes. Late, it got
2006,
really
That's a good point.
Okay, late, no.
2003.
No, but I mean, like, no, I'm talking about National Lampoon's as like a establishment
yeah.
of comedy, right? Like, if you come through SNL, I expect you,
to
to
be
be
good.
funny.
Yeah.
If you come through Second City, or if you come through the Groundlings or UCB, I expect you to be funny. There are different degrees of funny, granted.
Yeah.
I don't expect you to be subversive if you're a National Lampoon's writer, but I at least expect you to know how to craft
Write a joke?
Yeah, craft a joke that can make me giggle. And again, I was as prepared for this movie as I possibly could be. Did not giggle once. I think that to me was a major indictment, because if you're quipping and wisecracking and getting nothing in return, you're basically just R2D2 and C3PO from Clone Wars.
Oh, that's the worst.
It is. It is. The robot factory sequence, it is the worst. And that's all I can think of is, like, if you tell like 3 jokes in a row that do not land with anyone in the theater, go back to the drawing board.
Has anyone seen Hitman?
No.
No. Okay. I wanted to see. Okay, because I have a vague.
Man, y'all got
memory of it.
shitty tastes.
I'm
Like
not
locked down.
saying it's good. I just want to say, but that was a kind of like the same thing with Sonic, where it's like you could kind of take that character, make a story around it that's not a story that you put in the game.
That's fair.
And it's
I'd agree with
fine.
that.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Unlike what they did with Assassin's Creed, and we're like, we're gonna just like change things up a bit, and it just got real weird.
And the thing with me with something like Assassin's Creed, which I did see and then forgot 90% of it because it's
Yeah.
really not great.
I watched
it
the
looks
first 30
forgettable.
minutes and turned it off.
But the thing is
It's
that
not in theaters.
if you took the first Assassin's Creed, did a little more exposition at the beginning of it, there's your movie.
Yeah.
The movie's done.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't understand when it comes to that sort of stuff. But I'll probably watch Sonic on a plane.
And
Like-
you won't be disappointed.
And yeah, see, if I had watched it on a plane, I probably would have been fine with it.
Yeah.
But because I went to the movie theater and I paid the money and I did all the premiums and all of that shit,
I don't know.
premiums.
Yeah.
You were going
Yeah,
into it.
that's
I saw your
exactly what it
tweet.
is.
I saw your tweet. You're like, I don't want to be here. So you're going into it with that attitude. So maybe if you had a different
because I
attitude.
don't
about
like
it.
being at the theater.
That's fair.
It's not convenient. It's not cheap. I just, there's nothing about it that is enjoyable
But
except for the seats, the chairs, the reclining chairs. That's it.
You must admit, there are certain films you have to go to the theater for.
No doubt.
You have no choice.
No doubt.
So
Pacific Rim.
you got to. Any Marvel film.
Yeah, really. Not every Marvel, but like if you have a specific attachment to that character or storyline,
Any Marvel film with more than one Marvel hero.
there you
in
go.
it.
There you go. Yes.
to the theater.
Yes. I agree with that. Yes.
So
'Cause
I would say
Endgame was for sure.
Fast series movies go
Oh,
to
yeah.
the theater.
Come on.
Fast and Furious?
You can watch that on a plane.
Fuck off! No,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go to
They
the theater,
are bungee
sir.
jumping cars off cliffs onto magnetic stealth planes. You gotta see it on the big screen.
Yes.
I don't have to see it at all,
No,
actually.
sir, I saw a man take a car.
Sir?
Sir, I saw a man take a sports car and jump it from one tower of a skyscraper in Abu Dhabi into another skyscraper, park it perfectly, jump out, and start whooping people's ass without missing a beat. Okay, I need to see that.
Could he have done that without the aid of computers?
He was The Rock. Yes, he could.
So no.
Was it the
yes, he could. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he was in it at one point or another.
That was Vin,
Look,
Vin Diesel that
it
time.
doesn't matter. If The Rock is in a film, you need them muscles on high def anyway.
I will say, if Rock's in a movie, I'm okay with it, even if it is bad.
All right. All right. That's where we're going to have to leave the discussion for today. Thanks so much for joining us for Checkpoint AFK. CheckpointXP.com is where you can find out more info about all of our shows, interviews from past episodes, and a whole lot more. Find it all over at checkpointxp.com. Stay up to date on all the latest by following us on social media. That's CheckpointXP on Facebook and Twitter and Checkpoint_XP on Instagram. And if you like the show, consider dropping by our Apple Podcast feed and giving us a rating and review. We'll read it right here on the show.
Hulk hands. Hulk hands.
Checkpoint XP is a production of Beasley Esports XP. For the Checkpoint XP crew, Weird Beard, Chad Callahan, Robbie Landis, and Norris Howard, my name's A. Bender. Keep listening.